Alrighty, everyone. Just wanted to say we are just glad that you have joined us, whether it's if you're on Facebook Live, YouTube channel, however you're watching this. We're glad. This is my wife, Raquel. Say hi to everybody.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
In there. And just want to kind of give you an update of what we're going to be doing and what you expect tonight. Our goal right now is on Wednesday nights to come to you for a season at 7 p.m. and give you a 10-minute or less time to try to figure out how to make your marriage better. That's what we're going to focus on, how to make marriage better. We did it 10 minutes or less because we wanted the men to actually watch this and help them to make it really simple and really easy. And to kind of know a little bit about Raquel and I, we've been married for over 20 years. But as I've shared in the past, we're very, very different. Thank you for sharing that. But we're very different. And so in the beginning of our marriage, there was a lot of fights. Most of them weren't my fault, but there was a lot of fights. There was a lot of tension. In fact, to be honest, in the beginning season, we did not think we were going to make it. And it came to a point we actually were like, hey, I don't think this is going to work. But we decided to really fight for our marriage and work really, really hard on how to understand each other, how to prioritize, and how to fix and heal this relationship. And I'm so grateful for all the effort that you've put in and the counseling and the time we've put in. And here we are 20 years later, and our marriage is better than ever. And so over the next few weeks, we're going to be going through a book that we're reading together. Sweetie, you can show them the book.
This is an awesome book.
It's called The 4 Laws of Love by Jimmy Evans, one of the premier marriage coaches, counselors, pretty much on the planet. And he just is an amazing book. And so you don't have to buy the book. You can on Amazon if you want. But each week, we're going to look at a little bit of a chapter, 10 minutes or less, and share kind of what it was about the chapter that hit us and how we've applied that. So you can use us as like a cliff note each week. So we just hope husbands and wives share this together. You can share the link, by the way, on your Instagram or share your link on your Facebook page. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to it, Go Journey Church on YouTube, and you can subscribe. You'll get notifications when we go live with you and to be part of that. So with that being said, 10 minutes or less, I want to start out by sharing what chapter 1 was about in the book and how it affected us. Well, the book starts out and it talks about the priority of marriage. Because when you begin to understand how God designed marriage to work and to flourish, this is kind of a shocker, but did you know that God actually designed this relationship to be the number 1 relationship on earth, like above everything else? I think that's a really, really big thing to understand. In fact, look at what the scriptures declare, what God declares his heart of marriage is.
So in Genesis 2:24 it says, "For this reason a man shall leave his father and his mother and shall be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." So right from the start, this is the first book of the Bible, God establishing the law of priority and saying how important it is to have your wife, your spouse, your husband to be the number 1 person. So as you're growing up, your family, your parents are the priority in your life. But once to become one flesh, and to have a successful marriage, God is saying you need to leave your father and mother. It doesn't mean you're going to love them less or respect them less, but you're going to leave them and you in order to unite to your spouse. So the spouse should then become the first priority in your life, the number 1 human being besides anybody else, besides your kids, your parents, your friends, your career,
And it's hard, right? Because if you see God, he's like, hey, the way I designed marriage to flourish and be good is when this relationship is number 1. Yeah. But anyone that's been married for a while understands there's a lot of barriers and obstacles that can get in the way of this relationship. There's careers. If you have children, they will suck everything out of you. There's friendships. There's just different things. And so what can happen in life if we're not careful is this relationship that was designed to be number 1 can start to drift down, and we're not prioritizing this time, this intimacy, this relationship, and little by little, your marriage begins to suffer as a result. Mm-hmm. You were talking a little bit about a plant and how marriage is connected. Explain that. I thought that was really cool.
So a marriage is like a plant. So if you have a plant here, you put in a sprinkler system. And the sprinkler system is on a schedule to turn on and to water that plant. Without that water system, that plant is going to die. So I think we're talking about how important it is for us to schedule the time together and to make sure that we have that time to be together and to talk and to enjoy each other and to prioritize our relationship. So if that water line gets cut off, that plant is going to end up dying. So you can't expect your relationship and your marriage to flourish if you're not watering, if you're not taking the time to be together.
Yeah, we just dealt with this where we had a part of our grass that just died and it kept dying. We replaced the grass and it died again because we found out the problem was that it wasn't getting water. So I think this is where a lot of our relationships are. We're frustrated in our relationship, but we don't realize, we're frustrated with each other. We don't realize the problem is we stop scheduling that time to pour life into each other. We stop prioritizing this attention and this time. And one of the things that struck me as we were talking about priorities is this, is that every one of us understands when it comes to a marriage, if you ever divert affection away from your spouse to someone else, we all realize that's wrong. That's an affair, an emotional affair, right? That's a bad thing, and that can train wreck a relationship. But we don't often understand it's not just about diverting our affection. It's when we also divert our attention. When we start moving the attention, the time, the priorities, and the focus away from this to our children, to our careers, to other things, then what happens is our relationship isn't working the way God designed us to be. And so we might be being faithful with our affection, but we're not faithful in the attention we give each other. And so how Raquel and I really did this was we realized, hey, if we're really going to make this number one and make this work, then we're going to have to schedule in times where we are meeting each other's needs. And so we have multiple things that we do. We used to do Fridays, and that was our date day. And then now there's a quarantine, so we don't do Fridays. We do Wednesday afternoons, and we kind of put the kids somewhere else, tell them, leave us alone, lock them in a closet. We give them water, there's air conditioning in it. But we just kind of go, hey, listen, Wednesday afternoon is dad and mom's time, and we're just going to spend it together and kind of do with that. The other thing is we start creating opportunities for us just to have dialogue and conversation. I found out she really enjoys like 30 minutes, get everything set aside, no phones, and we just kind of talk. We're going to talk about communication next week.
Yeah, and so like women are more face to face, so they need time to talk. Men are more shoulder to shoulder, so we make sure that I have my face to face time, and then we also do shoulder to shoulder. So we find things that we enjoy doing together, like we go on bike rides or play pickleball. So there are different things that we can do together to enjoy each other.
And remember something, if we're going to do marriage what God designed us to do marriage, we have to make this a priority. You can't prioritize something in your head and not on your calendar. And so one of the challenges we're going to give you this week is really simple. Will you just carve out space where you two can meet each other's needs? And once again, those needs might be different, but you need to communicate what those needs are and meet those together. It could be a date night. For us, we don't leave the house. We just put the kids on the other side of the house, watch movies. We'll have conversation. We'll pray, take a bath, other things. Sorry.
Too many details.
Too many details. and we just do that. And here's what we found. When we take time, like the plant with the water, to water, if you will, this relationship, to prioritize it in time and calendar, then our relationships get better. Our marriage is better when we do it the way God designed us to do it. So here's a little quick discussion question we want to give you guys to have this talk together, to think about. Raquel, share the question we want them to kind of walk through this week.
So how can you give the best of you to meet the greatest needs of your spouse? So that's the question.
And the heart behind that is so often we give our spouses what's left and not what's our best. The kids get our best. The career gets our best. And then we come at the end of the day, we're exhausted and go, okay, now it's our time. So how do you give the best of you? And for us, that was we carved out time, not after the kids were in bed, before they were in bed, before we retired. And so I just want to challenge you, have that conversation. And here's the other thing I want to challenge you to do. What your need is might not be what their need is. So you need to ask them. Ask them, how can I give you, the best of me? What does that look like for you? create the calendar. And then this vice versa. Okay, how can I then, or how can you give me what the best of you and what the way it works best for me? And so when you're in this conversation, two quick things. Have that open dialogue, be honest. Second of all, it's not a time to criticize the past. It's not a time to remind all the failures and you never, no. This is a time to look forward, keep it positive, and just begin to ask that question. What does it look like for me to give the best of me for you, to make you that priority? You begin to do that, water this relationship, and I promise you it's going to get better. All right?
Yes.
Love you guys. I will see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Don't forget you can share this on Instagram, YouTube. Watch us together, and Facebook. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.